Hi, my name is Jesse Hyde, and in June I traveled to the Brazilian Amazon on a grant from the Pulitzer Center for Crisis Reporting to do a series of stories on rising rates of deforestation and what, if anything, can be done to reverse this trend. Specifically, I was looking at the impact of cattle ranching on the forest and also a series of conflicts between large landowners and peasant farmers and indigenous groups. I chose this topic because when I was 19 years old, more than 20 years ago, I was a missionary in the Brazilian Amazon. I lived there for 2 years. And so ever since then, I have felt a connection to the region and have followed the news. In the fall, when Jair Bolsonaro was elected president of Brazil, there was a lot of reporting that a lot of gains that Brazil had made in reducing deforestation would be reversed because President Bolsonaro has a pro-development, sort of anti-environmentalist stance when it comes to the Amazon. What I found really surprised me. I think for as much as you can read about deforestation, it's hard to really grasp the scale of it and even the scale of the Amazon without being there. And I traveled all across the state of Pará, which is in northern Brazil, and it's where some of the most explosive deforestation over the last 30 years has occurred. And for much of the trip, I kept thinking, when am I going to see the forest as I actually imagined it? And it was actually sort of dismaying how much forest has already gone. One of the things that surprised me the most was how much of the forest was gone. One of the things I learned, though, is that this isn't necessarily a choice between people living in the forest or even making money living in the forest and preserving it. I talked to agronomists in Brasilia, the capital, who've done a lot of study of the rainforest and of the cattle industry in particular, and they told me that the cattle industry in Brazil, specifically in the Amazon, is one of the least efficient in the world. Brazil is now the second largest producer of beef in the world and largest exporter after the United States. And cattle ranching has become the largest driver. And yet, one of the things that Ruralistas, or the agribusiness caucus in Brazil, says is that they need more land. The reality is they don't. They just need to use the land they already have more efficiently. So I think this is one of the encouraging things in that there are solutions to help reduce deforestation. In reporting this, I faced two main challenges. The first one was logistics. Almost everywhere we were going was incredibly remote, and it was hard to get there. One of the places we traveled, the road was so rough that even though it was like 250 miles, it took us 10 hours to drive that road. And there were times when we were like barely moving because the road was so rough and there were so many soy trucks coming up and down that road. The second challenge was danger. There were a number of Brazilian journalists I reached out to help me as a fixer who declined because they felt like the area we were going to was too dangerous. And a number of people who had agreed to speak with us declined once we got there because they thought even being seen with a journalist, or if word got out that they spoke to a journalist, their life could be in danger. So me and my crew, we took a lot of precautions in terms of who we talked to, where we went. We made sure to be in at night. But those were the two main challenges. What I hope the audience takes from my reporting is obviously increased awareness about what's happening in the Amazon. I think the stakes are extremely high. The Amazon is so important, the rainforest is so important to the planet. The whole planet's connected, and the Amazon contains 40% of the world's rainforests. These forests are a fragile but crucial buffer against climate change. And what happens in the Amazon, it impacts weather patterns all over South America. But there was research by Princeton that found that if the entire Amazon was destroyed, the snowpack in the Sierra Nevadas would be reduced by 50%. So you can only imagine the impact that would have on food supply, water here in the United States. The main thing I hope people take from this is a sense of responsibility. When I was there, I would meet with farmers who would say, we have these American, European journalists, conservationists come here, and you tell us not to do what you guys already did. You cleared your forest in the United States. You cleared your forest in Europe. Why should we do something you weren't willing to do? And the reality is the thing that we are asking Brazilians who live in the forest to do does require a certain level of sacrifice. It's been shown that they can live in harmony with the forest and pass down small plots of sustainable farming to their children and their grandchildren in a way that indigenous tribes have done for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And yet it is a sacrifice. You're not going to get rich living this way. And so for me, I came away from that and thought, what sacrifices am I willing to make? The reality is there's other problems we see all around the world with wildfires in California, plastic islands in the ocean. And so I think each of us have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to sacrifice and give up in interest of a sustainable future?